to Pittsburgh City Council's budget hearings. My name is Deborah Gross, and I chair the Committee on Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology. And today is November 21st, 2025. Sometimes I like to say that because it's not up on the screen. For this hearing, we will hear from the Department of Innovation and Performance. I'd like to invite those, well, you're already here at the table, from the Department of Innovation and Performance, and also we have Budget Director for City Council, Peter McDevitt, with us, who will give us a brief overview. We're joined at the table by Councilwoman Barbara Warwick, and I believe online by Councilman Bob Charland. Thank you, Mr. McDevitt.
Thank you, Councilperson. The mission of the Department of Innovation and Performance is to elevate the work of the city government. To accomplish this, INP continues to focus on developing and strengthening the core IT infrastructure of the City of Pittsburgh while also improving IT services responsive for all city workers. INP will also continue supporting all other departments to implement enterprise applications, data governance, and analytics, and apply best practices in project management. Further, INP engages partners with colleagues across all departments to drive innovation, process improvement, and operational excellence across the city on behalf of the residents of Pittsburgh. The Department of Innovation and Performance is divided into the following general service areas: business technology, security and risk, IT operations, reliability, city cable bureau, and administration. There is a total of 69 full-time positions out of the general fund in 2026, which is one more than in 2025. A summary of non-personnel changes. Overall, there is a just over $1 million decrease in non-personnel expenses, as many IT projects citywide are included in INP's budget, as well as citywide devices. And in the capital budget, there is one line item for INP for the net PGH infrastructure for $410,000 of PAYGO, and a handful of trust funds that INP has. There's the Comcast Franchise Trust Fund, the Verizon Franchise Trust Fund, the Technology Modernization Trust Fund. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Why don't we have everyone from INP first introduce yourselves, and then you can start your slideshow.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Heidi Norman. I'm the Director of the Department of Innovation and Performance and the Chief Information Officer for the City of Pittsburgh.
I am Sylvia Harris, Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, and Assistant Director Security for the City of Pittsburgh. I live in the Department of Innovation and Performance.
Good morning. I'm Chris Belasco, the Chief Data Officer and Senior Manager of Digital Services for the Department of Innovation and Performance.
Thank you. Okay, what have we got?
Well, I'm happy to present information about our budget today, and I will be talking about three different things. First, I'm going to review some of the highlights of our accomplishments over the current year, as well as the primary goals that we have set up for next year that would be of interest. And then finally, I'm going to go through the proposed 2026 budget for the department and show you how we have analyzed it so that it's very clear how we are allocating the budget dollars that we are going to be awarded. So in 2025, we can look at the accomplishments of our department under three different areas: innovation, technology, and IT services. And as Mr. McDevitt communicated earlier, our department is the technology department, and we essentially help make all of the services that other departments use in order to deliver services, as well as their needs for operations and business processes in the city. So to that end, this year we launched a new constituent relationship management platform to enhance our 311 workflows and service response times. We have released an open data report for the first time in quite a number of years, and that's to boost transparency and data-driven decisions made by government on behalf of our residents. We updated our generative AI policy, and we've trained over 350 staff members this year on how to use those tools responsibly and within the policy guidelines. On basic technology for our departments, we implemented a warehouse inventory management system, and that is used by a number of different departments, including our finance department, our public works department, and our fire bureau, to enhance the efficiency of their inventory management and reduce errors. We also introduced a new tool that's online that any constituents in the public can use called One Stop PGH Insights, and that is connecting our permits to our geographic information systems data for improved planning and permit review, so folks can see where permits have been applied and where they've been approved across the city. We also deployed Route Smart, and that is for our public works environmental services group to optimize our refuse truck routes, reduce fuel use, and enable real-time decision-making by public works supervisors. And then finally, in IT services, and these are services that we are providing to other departments within the city, we delivered what we call day one technology to 99% of new staff coming on board to work for the city, enhancing their ability to hit the ground running in their productivity and their new jobs. We initiated, very exciting news, our net PGH operations. So we have begun to turn on the city's brand new network in some of our public safety and parks department facilities, and that will improve the stability of our foundational IT systems as well as the security. That project is slated to be completed next year. We've also conducted specialized cybersecurity training for our police cadets coming in to our police force, as well as city officials, to bolster our risk prevention and prepare them for incident response. I also really want to highlight something special that happened this year. It was a very proud moment for all of us when the city of Pittsburgh was awarded gold certification by Bloomberg Philanthropies in their What Works Cities program. And I'm going to ask Chris Belasco to talk about that just for a couple of minutes, because it's a really terrific thing that so many people worked on.
Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, so we've been working with some foundation and nonprofits associated with Bloomberg Philanthropies for some time to both get coaching and to document the ways in which we're improving our data-driven practices. And so, think of this like a magnet certification or something like that that's applied in a, like a public health setting, right? And so here for the city, what that means is we work with a certifying institution. They're called Results for America. And what we do is we document our practices. There are 45 overall practices. We documented 30 that we meet. That was good enough to qualify for gold. There's a platinum level. There are 38 cities that are gold or platinum in the Western Hemisphere. That includes some in Latin America. We are one of them. We are leading in practice when we meet more than 75% of their criteria. And so we lead in practices of evaluation, open data, using data for decisions, data management, and another one. And so what we're doing is, communicating well with data, working well with departments, and helping to make sure that departments have the data that they need to be able to make good decisions. And that's what it really boils down to. It takes bigger than my team to be able to do that. In fact, we have partners throughout the city in the Data Governance Committee that help make sure that happens. And we also partner with the Western Pennsylvania Regional Data Center, and they're our open data partner, so that when we share data with the Western PA Regional Data Center, they make it open. And so we are really good at engaging with stakeholders with that data. So those are places where we've succeeded with this work, and it's been a really great accomplishment. I want to credit my team at the department, and then our members of our Data Governance Committee throughout the city to have been able to accomplish this.
Thank you. So over the course of 2025 to date, we have the service desk in INP is our IT help desk, and we receive approximately 35 requests on a daily basis. The vast majority of those requests are coming from police. Police alone account for about 10% of all service requests that come into our service desk. And you can see the other departments here outside of INP who have the most requests coming through. We're also very proud of the fact that our customer satisfaction scores are above 95% consistently throughout the year. In 2025, we have had 57 active modernization projects around technology. And those projects are strengthening our technical foundation, our services, and improving how our departments operate. And in addition to those active modernization projects, we completed 30 other projects this year, and those projects were focused on stabilizing our critical infrastructure, expanding our modernized applications, and reducing operational risk for the enterprise. So this is really where you're going to see new applications, new back-end technology to support security and resiliency of our IT systems, and most particularly digital services that the departments are using to work with constituents and to deliver those services in a way that our residents expect. Okay, so I want to move to next year and sort of what we're looking forward to as we go into next year and the new mayoral administration. So again, we look at innovation, technology, and IT services, and here I want to say that under innovation, we're going to continue to support testing and deployment of smart cities technologies and digitization. We are going to run an assessment of the state of drone use by city departments, and we're going to author a plan and any new policies that are needed or updates to policies that are needed so that we are approaching using this new technology in a really coordinated fashion citywide. Next year will be the 10th year for PGH Lab, which is the laboratory where city departments partner with local entrepreneur companies to test and utilize their products and services. Next year, we are going to include even more AI products to test in partnership with those local startups. We are also going to do something that's really necessary, and that is automating data discovery and inventory for better oversight and tracking of our critical information assets. A lot of what Chris just spoke about in terms of the gold certification is really formed by this foundation of knowing what data we have, cataloging it, ensuring that we are securing it and managing it well. And having automated data discovery is going to enhance our ability to do that. Under technology, we have 3 significant enterprise modernization software projects that began kicking off this fall and are really going to go into implementation starting next year. The first one is unified communications, and that will allow city staff to connect with and respond to callers wherever they happen to be working. So this is in recognition of the fact that our workforce is very mobile. Some people work from home, many people work in the field, and now anyone will be able to get in touch with others through these unified communications rather than the old-fashioned telephone services that most cities have moved away from at this point. We will also be introducing a new financial enterprise resource system, and this will replace our current finance system to support modern fiscal best practices and business practices. We will also be working on digitizing all government documentation, and that includes not just sort of your standard text documents, but it would include things like microfiche, images, all kinds of information and documentation that government is responsible for keeping and archiving. The digitization of these will also allow for searching across format types within that digital system. Under IT services, again, we're always focused on improving the stability and security of our technical infrastructure. We will be completing the rollout of the city's brand new internal network across our 120 facilities. We will also be initiating something that is called responsive quality of service programming. And what that is it's programming of the network itself to prioritize the bandwidth and traffic appropriately when we have high bandwidth events. So when lots of video camera bandwidth is needed because the NFL draft is coming, right? It can prioritize and ensure that the correct applications and uses are allowed to continue operations while it's declining the prioritization of other services. And finally, we're going to strengthen the redundant network resources to improve our system reliability and really minimize any kind of downtime that we might have experienced previously. Okay, so I'm going to move into the final section, and this is our budget analysis that we do every year. So I'm excited to share this with you. As you can see, as Mr. McDevitt explained earlier, our operating budget has been reduced by 2.7% from 25 to 26. In addition to that, our capital budget has been reduced from 25 of 1.5 million to 0.4 million. Last year in our Technology Modernization Trust Fund, which is governed by the Technology Leadership Council, that had no new funds or new projects for the current year. Next year, we will be given $2.1 million in that trust fund, and all of that money is specifically to go toward our new financial enterprise relationship management system. So that's for one single project. Big smiles from our economist and budget people in the room. Very exciting work. As you can see here, this is just a pie chart of our proposed budget and how the components sort of fit together here. Okay, in comparison to our sister departments, you can see that our overall operating budget, and this is both personnel and non-personnel, that we rank 7th, below finance, police, fire, public works, EMS, and human resources. And INP continues to use what we call budget programs. And the reason that I use this is my way of looking to see, am I putting my money where my priorities are? And what this shows on the left is that within IT operations, which is really our service desk, our infrastructure, our network, that we have in gold is our non-personnel budget money, and in black is our personnel. And we are investing next year $8.6 million in budget toward IT operations specifically. Business technologies comes in second, and business technologies is what I would think of as all of our front-end programs. So that's going to be our applications, GIS, all of our data and digitized services. It also includes our innovation team in terms of the technical work that the project management office does. There, we are spending a total of $7.8 million with 2,658,000 toward personnel, and non-personnel is $5,158,000 toward non-personnel budget lines. Next is communications, and communications includes not only the Cable Bureau, but it also includes groups like our web team, as well as our print shop and other communication services that we provide. And there you can see that we are allocating $2.3 million, or a little over 11% of our budget, toward communications that we provide to the city. Next is cybersecurity. And this is one that I want to pay special attention to, and I'm going to ask Sylvia Harris to speak to it a bit. The total that we spend on cybersecurity today is just under $750,000. And the reason that I bring that up is what I want the public and council to know is that our public safety bureaus are responsible for the protection and security of humans, our animals, under animal care and control, as well as the physical assets of the city. Our cybersecurity team is also a safety and security bureau of all of the digital and information assets that the government has. It is important to note that the smallest public safety bureau, which is animal care and control, has a budget, an operating budget of $2.4 million, while cybersecurity is less than $1 million. I'd like Sylvia to talk a little bit about her perspective on what is really needed within cybersecurity and our budgeting in order to continue to expand our ability to really protect critical information assets of the city.
Sure. Thanks, Heidi. So what we're seeing coming down the pike right now, there are, the bad guys are getting better, and we're always one step behind them. So a lot of the things that we do to try to compensate for that is layered protection. And one of the bigger things also that's coming along, operational technology, or what's called OT. And so we have a lot of things connecting in. Heidi spoke about drone usage. Those things are going to want to be ingested into the network. We have the draft coming. We've got the traffic lights are being upgraded and connecting to the network. Those things are considered to be operational technology. If you recall, within last year, there was an incident on the eastern seaboard where technology was not up to snuff, and this side of the country couldn't buy gasoline. Right? And there have been other incidents like that as well. So as we connect these operational technology applications to our network, we need to make sure that we have the proper protections for those types of things. And that's just going to grow as we go, as well as shoring up the operational technologies that we already have. Right? The HVAC systems, the traffic lights as they sit, I'm sorry. So the operational technology, those types of things. So that's really where we see this going. There is a huge mind map when you talk about cybersecurity. There are only so many things with the staff that I have that we can cover, so we have to just take care of the things that are the biggest risks.
And the remainder of the budget is relatively small aspects of it. In terms of investing in team, which is training that we provide not only to our IT staff, but also the rest of the city on our technologies, the administration of the department, as well as our civic and technical innovation programming. Okay, so this chart is very important. What you're looking at here is we take every non-personnel budget line and we allocate how much of our budget is actually going toward each department in the city. What this shows you is that 23% of every operating budget line for 2026 is allocated for police. That 19% is allocated for both DPW, Public Works, and for our Fire Bureau. And then we have a series of departments here that are all right between 3 and 6%, with permits, licensing, and inspection, mobility and infrastructure, INP itself, parks, and EMS. Under other, which is 17%, these are departments such as city council, city planning, city controller, HR, that are all grouped together that take up smaller amounts of our budget lines. But it gives you a sense that within our operating budget, INP only has 5% of it that is allocated to services that only INP uses, not for other departments. This is a comparison of year-over-year expenditures. In the left bar is 2025, and in the right bar is 2026. You can see personnel, it has increased by about $500,000 for next year. In addition to that, our professional and technical services has also increased just a little over $500,000, while other services and property have both decreased for next year. And this is what it looks like when you look at those accounts and how much we're spending in each area. So let's talk about our personnel budget. Right now, IMP is ranked 10th among other departments in terms of how much we spend on personnel. You'll note that classically, in operations, we tend to look at a personnel budget of around 33%. For the first time, we're breaking 30%. So we're excited about that, but we are really understaffed in terms of the number of people working on the technical aspects within our systems within our department. This is how the department is currently organized. On the left and the right, you see our administration team, as well as the City Channel Bureau, and in the middle with business technology, security and risk, and IT operations reliability. This is where our 3 assistant directors sit to run these various divisions within the department. How I allocate staff within the department. For next year, I have 69 FTEs that are proposed in the budget. 46 of them work in information technology. This is extremely low, as I will show, compared to other cities and counties that are comparable in size and breadth of services. We have 14 FTEs that work on innovation and performance specifically, 5 which work on communication specifically, and we have 4 people working in administration. This is the staffing study that was conducted in the fall of 2024, so just over a year ago. And you can see there's a selection of 10 cities, including Pittsburgh, that we were compared to, including a university and 2 counties. And you can see here that in 2024, the number of people within our department working specifically in information technology was just over 40 people. And this was extremely low, even in comparison to cities of similar size and scope of services that are required to be provided. Which means, if I don't have the FTEs, I have to hire them from outside. So we are ranked first, again, as we are every year, in the amount we spend on professional and technical services. This takes up 47% of my budget overall. And you can see that we far outpace even the number 2 group, which is public safety, by more than twice their budget. What is included in professional and technical services? On the technical services, there are things like cloud storage and compute capacity, enterprise applications, software licenses, and technical device management. Within professional services, we include IT infrastructure services, cybersecurity services, and application services. And some of these services are with partners or contracted staff that either augment our staff for bandwidth purposes or they have specialized knowledge and skills that we cannot hire for within our department. Our other services budget, we are also number one, and again, Office of Management and Budget is number two, and we outstrip them by more than 3 times their budget. Within other services, that's about 16% of my overall budget, and this accounts for all of the data plans that we pay for city staff, as well as the current desk phones that folks use, our internet services, as well as our leased network fiber, our printer leases, and our VoIP communications, which is that unified communications systems that we're moving toward. And then finally, we have our property budget. And here we're ranked 4th, which is very interesting, at $1.3 million, which is about 6% of my overall operating budget. And the items that we have here in property, machinery, and equipment include things like our computing devices, our Wi-Fi access points, the MDT Tough Books that are used by police in their vehicles, our network devices, and mobile devices in use by city staff. And that makes up my presentation. I appreciate you all listening, and we will be happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I believe that Councilman Sherlin was actually in the room before any of us. He was in the Zoom room. So I'm going to ask Councilman Sherlin if he's ready and has any questions.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank folks from INP for being here today, being able to discuss with us your budget here. I want to first acknowledge that my staff wanted to send over a big thank you for just how quickly your team has been able to work with our office. The response time has been something that we really do appreciate. Wanted to acknowledge the good work there.
Thank you.
I also want to say, I see in your budget a lot of comparisons to other departments. Obviously, your department is going to always be a unique one in kind of the support staff that you serve. I recognize that we may be spending, more on animal care control than on the public safety that your department delivers, but that is just the reality of where we are in the city right now. I guess I want to start with a question very different than I've asked the other departments. If we had infinite money, which we do not, what are the things that you would invest in first?
I don't know that I would change what we're investing in other than increasing the budget for cybersecurity and looking at the salaries that IT folks in the city are paid. And the reason that I say that is, in addition to having the restriction of folks needing to live within the city limits to work for city government, understandable, we also have to compete with private industry and other governmental organizations and nonprofit organizations and universities to attract talent here. One of the things we have really struggled with is attracting what I would think of as the high-tech talent that require ongoing training, specialized certifications in order to be able to handle some of the work in-house. As a result of this, we have had to partner with external vendors and use contracted high-tech talent in order to be able to augment our staff. And that's not the wrong thing to do, but ultimately, because particularly contracted staff can come and go so quickly, it doesn't provide a certain level of stability. And so I think those are the two areas where I believe it would be valuable to take a closer look at how can we use the money that we do have wisely and spending it in a way that allows the department to meet the needs of the city as a whole.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I do appreciate that. I want to get to kind of the reality of where we are, though. As I've said to all the other departments, we are in a very challenging position where I think I haven't checked with you, although I've said it in your presence multiple times, Councilwoman Warwick, but I think it was your phrase that is, we are getting to the point where we need to talk about cutting muscle and not just trimming fat anymore. In order to pass this budget, we will, probably have to make some very difficult decisions here. I don't want to know today necessarily, but I do want you to start thinking about and being ready to report to council with what it is in your department in the budget, even though you didn't get all the things that you want, that you'd be able to trim out of that in order for us to pass this budget at the end of the year. Is that something that you'd be able to do?
Well, Councilman, I think what that would require is an understanding from council persons as you are talking to other departments, what the other departments are saying it may not be needed in order for them to provide the services to your districts. If something is important to a department and I'm asked to provide that service, I feel I need to be Switzerland on determining for the departments what should be cut in terms of the services we're providing to them. If 23% of my budget is going for police, I would be interested to know from council which services to police you think could be cut out of my budget that would still allow them to serve your districts well. And I think that requires a conversation between you and those chiefs and directors.
Yeah, and I understand that position. I guess where we are, if we're trying to pass an honest budget by the end of the year, at some level, I think the way that I've described it is like, I can look through your budget and I can point at these are the things we want to cut. But that, isn't any sort of surgical precision. That's me saying, okay, I think these are things that we can move without having the knowledge of what day-to-day operations are and what you would need to do. But the reality is that is something that we are going to have to do. So I would ask that you, start being prepared on that.
And I would be very happy. Oh, pardon me.
No, well, I say the last point I wanted to make. We met with you earlier this year about creating, or actually, it wasn't you, it was the rest of your department, about creating a housing tracker. We do not in the city of Pittsburgh track how many houses were put online, over the course of a year. We have a lot of people that have figured out mechanisms to try to do that, but none of them are accurate. And generally, the people that are putting those mechanisms together are disputing with each other on how to do that. I believe that we are the only city of our size, and many smaller than us that don't track this, and yet we, make lots of legislative and policy choices, or debate, but we don't really have data that we can all agree on to create, to create policy from. So I do plan on legislating that this is a project that your department works on with city planning, with PLI, that we are able to produce a number. And I would like to do lots of things with that number. I'd like to, be more, go further into how many of those units are affordable, or how long they took to build, or all those things that come through that. Right now, I just really want a number. Like, give me, a 3-digit number of how many units came online, and we can build that out further. This is something that I believe we've given your department and planning ample warning on, but it is something that I do plan on legislating shortly here, and I want to make sure that you're prepared for that.
Well, thank you. I think you had 2 different points, so I'll address the previous point first, and that is I stand ready if there are any questions from council on if a cut is being contemplated and you would like to know what the implications or ramifications or impact of that cut might be. I stand ready to provide you with that information at any point. In terms of the data on housing, I'm going to ask Chris Pelasco just to briefly address your point.
Yeah, thanks, Councilman, and I appreciate you bringing it up today. The planning department and the housing planner and the deputy director of planning reached out to us in the month of September, and we are conducting some planning meetings to execute their request for a housing dashboard. At that time, kind of in the spirit of our discussions back in the late spring, early summer, we convened meetings to make sure that we built up a project that included both planning and permits, licenses, and inspection, where we were able to identify a couple of data sources I wasn't aware of at the time, and I was pretty happy about that. For now, that's the best update I can provide, but we are in the process of sort of engaging those next steps and getting the planning going to build out something that'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is a real priority, and the fact that it's 2025 and we don't have a number we can agree on. I'm glad to hear that you have continued to work on that. I know that there was a good bit of resistance to that when I brought it up earlier. I'm glad that has changed, but I do want to make sure this is something that we codify moving forward. So. With that, Madam Chair, I think that's all really the questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sharland. I'll share with you the kind of, I think, 7 or 8 years of communications with various administrative heads over trying to obtain the same data that I have on the record. So I think we have all been joined online by Councilman Kari Mosley, but I'll turn the floor over to Councilwoman Barb Warwick.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. Thank you all for coming. I'll say, as a user of your systems, they all work really well. And I have worked at places where I am just like constantly on the phone with the help desk. And it's, and it really drives you mental, like in the middle of the day, you're just like, and I don't know if I can't even think of one time that, and I work from home a lot, and I'm constantly on this or that tool. And anyway, so that is a testament. An IT department that you don't actually interact with very often is a very good thing in my book.
Thank you.
So the One-Stop PGH Insights, that's a very cool tool. Is that available to the public?
Yes.
Yeah.
Available to the public.
For all the nebby Pittsburghers out there that want to know what's going on, what's going on over, down the street from me, what's going on with that new, there is now a tool that you can, put in the address and you can look at a map, you can see the permits, like that, you know what I mean? So lots of good stuff in there if you are one of those folks who, now, does it have the, it has the street permits too, right? Like the DOMI permits. So if it's like, it's like, who's tearing up my street? You're able to look in there.
Yeah, recent addition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Good. We get lots of calls about that, and I love constituent calls, but it's nice to be able to say, oh, well, next time, instead of calling the office, you can just look it up in this thing, just sort of curiosity calls.
Let me
I
also
call them.
offer, because I know that your offices do get quite a number of calls, that if it would be useful for your staff to have some instruction on how to use this tool well, to be able to answer questions or even show constituents how to use it,
Yeah.
we're perfectly happy to provide that.
Okay, great. And then the Route Smart. So that is currently on the refuse trucks.
Correct.
And are we going to move that over to the snow plows? Are we going to deploy it on the snow?
At this point, Public Works does not have plans for that.
Does not. Okay, because I did recall from the DPW hearing that often our drivers are literally looking at a paper, like a piece of
Yes.
paper, like so they have to like pull over and be like, okay, I did this one, and wait, what street am I supposed to do next on this
Right.
route? So that would be obviously a handy thing.
That would be fantastic, and I think it's probably more constrained resources than anything,
Yeah.
but making sure that the refuse and recycling trucks are able to use it and use it well, and if that's successful, I'm sure that they would be interested in the future
Now,
and
is-
looking forward to expansion.
Is this something that is this like a device that can go in the truck, like a TomTom, or can you put it on your phone and just like clip your phone into the holder?
It actually involves a number of devices,
Mm-hmm.
both in the truck and mobile devices that, in the field even, that foremen and supervisors can use to track the trucks, understand what's happening, and reroute as needed based on what's going on in the city. It's
Okay.
really, it's going to be really cool, I think, for Public Works, and they've been working awfully hard on this. So I think we're all very eager to see what the outcomes and impacts are going to be.
Okay.
And this is where the evaluation of our programs becomes critical.
Okay, great. So with regard to the IT service desk, now are the most requests from police because they just have the most technology in their
Yes,
in their
they have an
day-to-day?
awful lot of technology.
Okay.
They also have the largest population of
Oh,
staff,
of course,
right?
that
so
makes sense. Yeah,
it does make sense what we're seeing on this chart. So Public Works has, I think, 600-ish staff total, whereas police is more along the lines of 800. So as we're looking at the populations and the number of people in departments, that's where we're really seeing like most of our services are going there, as it should be.
Okay, but then I also saw PLI is third. Are they the third?
No, PLI is 3%.
Oh, maybe I just wasn't
Yeah.
seeing. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what the third one. Okay, so it wasn't PLI because that sort of made me scratch my head. Anyway, so yeah, and congratulations on that award. The data, I think that's so important. This data-driven decision-making, which has, in my experience, not always been how we decide the work that we do in Pittsburgh, right? And speaking as the representative for, I'll say like a big chunk of the East End, right? Like you kind of get, there has been a lot more, and it's not a coincidence, I think, that over the decades, lots of leadership from, because, leadership from the city has come from that part of the city, and then so lots of resources are going to that part of the city to the detriment of other parts of the city, like maybe the West End and the South and whatever, you know what I mean, where we don't always see as many individuals from those neighborhoods. And it's almost like it's kind of an organic thing, right? Like you're from a neighborhood, and so all the people are from your neighborhood, and then you get into leadership, and so all the people you know have access to you, and so all the needs of your neighborhood, right? And so when you have over years and years and years folks from the same, area, you get a lot of, there's a lot of skewed, a skew in the resources, with other neighborhoods not getting what they should be getting. So, IMP's ability to provide that data. I mean, specifically, I think about like the traffic calming, right? The fact that DOMI is now in the past, 4 or 5 years, making those traffic calming decisions based on where the accidents are, based on where right? And that's you all that make that possible, right?
Isn't it exciting?
It is. Yeah. It is. And it really is. And we've seen it, right? Like over the past 4 years, we have seen traffic calming projects coming up all over the city. And I think that, and the more we do, the more popular it gets, which really is, that's more of a DOMI conversation, but, it just shows that the need is there, and that we are better able to meet that need with the technology that your team provides. Also with litter, and we haven't gotten we haven't gotten to the place quite yet where we are addressing the litter, but just that knowledge that if we just go by 311 calls, that doesn't get us where we need to go, right? Because that's not where the problems are. So I look forward to that, to your team working with DPW on continuing to figure that out, and then how and then obviously we have to figure out how to deploy those resources.
Yeah,
how to give DPW the funds they need to do the work. But let's see what else. Definitely heard about the salary issue and the third-party resources. Are there ever just kind of is there like the possibility for like part-time positions? I always think of sort of like some of the most folks who have been in the IT world for a long time, right? Like, so if you've been doing, whatever it is your specialty for 20 years, maybe you're ready to not be doing the 9 to 5 in whatever company or, that you've been working in. Is there room for that to sort of fill gaps where there might be, I guess that would be a contractor, but
those
maybe
are contractors.
Those are contractors. So would there be a space for like part-time? Or would you just rather?
I think it would be difficult to attract high-tech part-time FTEs. And the reason is because then it would be based on an hourly paycheck with no benefits.
Right.
And they can make more money as a part-time contractor.
Oh, I see.
Working through a staffing firm, a technical staffing firm.
I'm tracking. So working through just right. Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So it's the same problem.
It's the same problem.
It's the same issue. Yeah.
But I agree. If there are any people in IT world listening and you're ready to retire and you would like to do something for the community.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah,
please call.
That's what I was thinking, is that, there are folks who they might not need that, like, whatever, $150K paycheck anymore because they're kind of creeping up toward retirement. But
I highly recommend civil service.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So if anyone's out there. Do we have open positions right now? Like, or is pretty much everything filled?
No, we actually do have some positions. I believe most of them are actively, the interviews are being conducted now.
Okay, good.
So yes, there have been open positions at several different levels.
Okay.
And hopefully we will have new staff coming in shortly to fill those roles.
Good. And then the last question I had was just around, so I always forget that the Cable Bureau is under IMP.
Please don't forget the Cable Bureau.
No, I don't forget the Cable Bureau. I see them every day, but I forget
Yes.
that they're under IMP.
Yes.
So how does that work? I mean, do they just kind of operate as an independent entity, or is there?
I would say they're pretty independent, but they do a great job. They don't need a whole lot of hands-on management, but they are within the department, and therefore, we oversee the budget with them, and David Fino reports to me.
Okay.
As the head of the manager for the Cable Bureau.
Okay. I mean, one thing that I feel like as the city in general that we could do a better job of is kind of promoting all the good stuff that we do to our residents. And I would, if there was a way to kind of engage the Cable Bureau to do that. I mean, we have like a whole TV studio and team that knows how to do all this cool video stuff. Do you know what I mean? And video content is, of course, where it is at now, like in the world. And it would be great, I know as a council member it would be nice. I am sure that like all of our, you know what I mean? Every department would like a way to be able to promote the good stuff that they're doing, and it would be nice if we could do that through that team rather than I don't know how departments do it, if they sort of have their own budget or they like hire, like contract someone to make like a little video about a new playground. I know the mayor's office had sort of his own comm staff, but that seems not efficient when we have like our own TV studio in the building.
Right. So any department, including City Council, is always welcome to request video services from the Cable Bureau. By legislation and ordinance, their first priority is to City Council, and that keeps them quite busy. But they absolutely do go out into the community, and they provide videos for all sorts of things. So it depends on the bandwidth and the time that they have.
Okay.
But that is absolutely a service that we offer.
Okay, well maybe that's something that if our departments aren't doing it, and maybe I look at myself as well, that we should take advantage of that, to reach out and see what the Cable Bureau can do.
Well, if you're interested, you can go onto YouTube to the city channel.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Channel,
I know.
and take a look at some of the work that they do outside of City Council meetings.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of the breadth of work that they do for the city.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive.
It is, yeah. I mean, there's lots of videos, but also I was thinking just in terms of like social media, these like shorter form video, you know what I mean? Like shorter form videos, things like that can be used to promote. I see lots of it coming out of the county. Some very nice stuff. Like if they do a long, whatever, I just see it in my feed. And I'd love to see more of that from the city when we do something.
Oh, Mr. Finer, you
when we
heard
do
it here
something
first.
cool. Yeah. Okay. I don't think I have anything else. Just, thank you so much for your work. It's always a pleasure. Your team, everyone's so lovely on your team. And
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
We appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mosley, are you ready, and do you have questions?
Yes, I just have a couple questions. A lot of my questions have already been asked, so I won't be redundant. I want to thank, to echo Councilman Charlin, thank your team for the responsiveness. We've had a number of issues over the last almost 2 years, and it's always a quick response and always a quick fix. So I truly appreciate you and your team for that. And also I wanted to thank the folks at IMP on the GIS team for the help in the historic renaming of the block of land between Hamilton and the train tracks for the Negro League Hall of Famer and Baseball Hall of Famer Pete Hill over the past few months. That was a great help in that process, and it shows much of what you talked about, how interconnected IMP is. You think about an honorary street renaming and you don't think about IMP, but IMP plays a key role along with, with city planning and DPW and DOMI in making those things happen. Really being that so many of the granular questions have been asked, the one question, that I do have is, understanding obviously the challenges fiscally that we're facing as a city, putting that aside for the sake of conversation. What are you seeing out there of, around the country, when it comes to, information technology, in that whole realm that other cities are doing that you would say, if you have a short list of, you would love to see the city of Pittsburgh do those kinds of things, something that we could potentially, not do, next year, the year after, but aspirationally look to in the long term of things that cities are doing really well in your space that you would like to replicate in the city of Pittsburgh?
Oh, that's a big question. So it's been very impressive and humbling to meet with my colleagues, CIOs of other cities and counties across the country. And I think some of the most exciting things that I see happening around the country is in the innovation space, where there are public-private partnerships. We do some of that through our PGH Lab program, but I would love to see more partnerships where we are looking at testing products and services that are technologically advanced. I know that in the general economic development sphere of Pittsburgh, that there's a lot of interest and push for more AI products and services coming out of this region. And I would love to be able to take advantage of all of the great work that our universities are doing and many of the really interesting technical organizations that have been founded in recent years. So I think that's a direction that I think Pittsburgh could go. Today, I don't believe that there is a large appetite within city leadership generally for being on the cutting edge of technology. That our focus has primarily been for a number of years now, modernizing things after so much disinvestment that we had, particularly during the time that we were under state financial oversight. And so we've been doing a lot of work to catch up, and I feel that the city as a whole is on a very good trajectory where our systems are becoming far more reliable and stable, as well as secure, and that our services are being offered and provided on a rapid basis where we can resolve issues or questions or needs that city staff have on the technical side. I would love to see us get more into that innovative sphere in the future, but that has, today I'm not sure that that's necessarily possible given the financial constraints that we have.
And can you share like any specific examples? You talk about these partnerships that you look to, just so maybe it makes it a little easier for us to wrap our heads around, what those kind of partnerships look like, whether they're with universities or, with the private sector. Are there like particular companies or particular institutions that you've seen in other places in the country partner, in a way that you really believe that are things that we should aspire towards?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll take an example actually from Pittsburgh. So recently we completed a PGH Lab cohort this year, and there was a company that actually was making it possible for people who are interested in purchasing properties through treasurer sale from the city to actually take sort of a 3D look at those properties. That kind of work where instead of just an advertisement in the newspaper that says, this is the property and this is the address, where you could actually look at the property externally as well as look internally and have sort of a 3D tour like you would a property that was for sale on a standard real estate site. That would be, I think that kind of thing would be really incredible. I think it would be wonderful to begin to do things like other cities do in terms of folks paying their taxes. One of my sons is a taxpayer and a homeowner, and really wants to know why he can't pay his taxes using Venmo, right? And that is not something that we can do today. But those are the types of things that we do have a number of residents, and particularly our residents that are graduating from universities and either staying in Pittsburgh or returning to Pittsburgh after universities, that their expectations are that we are a digitally advanced organization that delivers our services like they would find in other organizations, not just in other governments. And so that's where I think I really appreciate your question. I would love to think about it further on the types of things that we could do. But I think there are just so many possibilities when we start looking at what we call generally as digitization of services. It is becoming more advanced and offering not only the opportunity to walk in and pay taxes at a window with a check or that way, but also being able to do it remotely if you are working for a period of time elsewhere in the country and you still need to get your tax payment in on time, to be able to open up your phone and be able to do that through an application. That kind of thing, I think, is something that will meet the expectations of folks who live, work, and play here in Pittsburgh. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, and I think this would be my final question. Just along the same lines as my two previous questions. Obviously, we're generally as members of council not IT experts, but I think a lot of us spend a lot of time, reading and researching about like other cities. Is there a short list of cities that come to mind for you that we, can do our own independent research on and read about of doing the kinds of things that you're talking about? Digitizing services, are there, a couple cities around the country that are really like shining examples that in our own, independent research time, we can, do some digging and find out more information about. And even I know some of us travel around the country and visit other cities and reach out to elected officials in other cities. But is there a short list of a couple cities that really come to mind that we could be looking at?
So I will say a couple of things, and I'm going to give my colleagues an opportunity to come up with a couple of places that they think are pretty great. We work with a lot of cities. So the first thing I would say is if you go onto the Bloomberg Philanthropies What Works Cities site, the Bloomberg Philanthropies, they also underwrite a lot of very interesting innovations in operations of cities, and they do this throughout the Western Hemisphere. And that is something that you can see not only cities in the United States, but cities in Latin America and elsewhere that are doing really great things. So that's one place I would take a look. In terms of technology, one of the cities that I would say is really terrific around AI in particular would be San Jose, California. They are the founders and they run the Government AI Coalition, of which Pittsburgh is a founding member. And another city that I have long admired and just received yet another Digital Cities survey #1 ranking is Long Beach, California. So I think those would be the three places that I would recommend. I'm sure my colleagues have others.
Yeah, San Jose is where I was going to go with that for the AI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. This is a great question, and I do echo the names that were put forth already. In terms of cities of our size, there's actually several in the valley in Arizona, so Mesa, Scottsdale, and Tempe, right? So they're around our size and what they spend and how they. How many people they represent and what their budget looks like. Those are three leaders. In terms of cities that are larger than ours, my colleagues in Seattle, Detroit, and Boston are really leading in very innovative ways. Seattle with their integrations related to AI, Detroit related to their data management, and Boston with the way that they kind of build in some of their innovation ecosystem. They're all really approachable too, and if you ever have any questions that you'd like to get to them, I'd be happy to make an introduction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That exhausts my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Are we joined by any others? Is there anyone else online? No, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I've got some notes in front of me as well, and I appreciate the questions from my colleagues that came before me. I will also start off by saying that I have been here nearly 12 years at this table, and the amount of downtime that we have on either the software, the devices, or our kind of internet connection is not even a fraction of 1% of the amount of time that we were down 10 years ago. So I really appreciate that year after year, especially under your leadership, Director Norman, the investment the investment in the stability and reliability of, again, our systems, our equipment, and our backbone is amazing.
Well, thank you very much for noticing. And it is important for folks who have been here for a while. They've seen that evolution. And we've talked about this before. Information technology is not inexpensive.
Right.
There's going to be no Black Friday sale. However, the fact that City Council has allowed us to really invest in our technology systems for Pittsburgh is what has made all of this possible. So thank you. It's a partnership.
Absolutely, yeah. There was a time when, your device that you had, the computer was just like a clunky, really old desktop tower that you couldn't get a better one, when we asked, can I get a computer that can literally process more than, 2,000 lines of Excel? Literally, when I started here, I couldn't use Excel on my desktop computer. It was pretty bad. And I couldn't get a better one. They brought me the same one. And I was like, can I get a better computer? I was like, that's the same $100 from Home Depot thing, or not Home Depot, Best Buy, that I have already. No, thank you. And the phones not working. Literally, our offices would be offline for more than a day. Just nothing, just no connection, not able to do anything. And people got mad at us, and rightfully so, because they couldn't get in touch with us. We couldn't respond to emails, or things disappeared, and it was really difficult. And that does not happen anymore. So again, at every level, right? That the software systems work, that the actual equipment is better, and that we're actually online and able to be stable, be on Zoom, on New Edition, is really, really helpful. So let's not even underestimate the basics. But I'll say that, and also I want to say, I'm not excited by how many times we've said AI here today. I mean, most of my constituents are hostile, and rightfully so, and skeptics. I think we're all still learning. And so, I don't hear from people that they want us to be more cutting edge. And I think we've learned the hard way when we did overreach and try to be early adopters, that, we ended up having to sue one of the biggest water corporations on the planet because they fumbled smart meters on our water system, and thousands of people overpaid, some of them with money they really didn't have. And it was literally just done so badly. I can tell you, I won't belabor the story, but this software didn't talk to the next software. The doodad on your house didn't talk to the relay system, and sent garbage data to the financial system that then couldn't talk to the billing system, and just sent you literally a nonsensical water bill. So it was bad. And we don't need to do that. If you're an individual who's an early adopter, run out, stand in line for the Apple Watch, or that, whatever I wrote down. I had to Google the names for it, the Meta AI glasses or whatever. That's awesome, right? But your city probably shouldn't do that. So I appreciate also that you're kind of doing the professional learning and keeping track of what other cities are doing, because we learn from them, even on basic things like LED streetlights, right? Like, some at the city tried to rush into those, and there were lawsuits between cities and vendors for 10 years because entire sectors of cities went dark, or, they couldn't be repaired, or, they were under some weird licensing for changing the light bulbs or something. Like, it was bad. So I think it was a good thing that we were cautious there. God knows I'm getting calls from my district now because they're starting to roll out, and people kind of still hate them. They're awful. They're bright. They're the wrong colors. We had all those discussions here. So anyway, I appreciate that, like, we should keep learning and looking, but I'm not one who's like, well, let's just blithely kind of jump in because some salesperson says it's like the hot next thing.
Agreed.
So thank you for being cautious and doing your work there. I will touch again just briefly, since Councilman Charlin already spoke about it. I literally have years of emails to various cities departments, including PLI, of trying to get accurate counts of units constructed. Not a building permit, because you might have one building permit for one house and you have one building permit for 500 apartments. And we've been trying to have a really important, really impactful policy discussions without the right information. So I know you all are working on that. It is painfully overdue. And that is tragic. And I will just say for the record that what I've learned in this back and forth for years now is not only that we don't have systems, like, we can put systems in place and have accurate information moving forward from today. I'll just say to the councilman and for the record that the problem is the data is missing for previous years. Now, it's not hard to get. I just say it's not necessarily a computer problem or a software problem or a systems. It's not a programming problem. We would probably literally have to go out and look at those apartment buildings because, like, nobody wrote down how many units were in them or something. But they exist, and it's not that big of a city, and there weren't that many pieces of new construction in the earlier years. So I've offered to just, get a bunch of university students. I've got interns. We're going to need to actually create the data and check the data validity.
Sometimes that is what it takes.
Yeah. So literally, the difference between data reliability and validity check. Correct me if I get this wrong, because it's from like 30 years ago when I learned this stuff. But is your data valid means is it believable even if it's on a piece of paper? Is it real, right? And then your data reliability is are you capturing, your system's capturing the information correctly moving forward? So we want to make sure we have both valid and reliable data. And it will really make a difference in how we understand what is happening out there in the city and how we can help get more people housed and grow as a city, because I think we all share the same goal. So look forward to that. I also, by the way, Councilman Charlin, have some legislation drafted that I didn't put on the table. So I'm happy to share that as well. I'd like to give you another chance to revisit this idea, because it's on all our minds. Can we trim some? Can we prioritize, as I heard you say, what kinds of projects are being done around information technology or equipment in various departments? Because I say this, and again, maybe we'll find out I'm wrong, but if we have to pay a $13 million water bill this year and a $10 million water bill next year, and we haven't paid this year's yet, your pool might not get filled, right, in the summer of 2026. And which neighborhoods or how many neighborhoods? And that's bad. That has been something that has happened in the last 5 or 6 years in the city. And, we don't want that to happen. And if we have to somehow shave $30 million off of this budget, it is important that we understand how to do it, if we need to do it responsibly, in various places. So when you say, ask the departments about the projects that are prioritized for them, how will we understand when they describe it to us, in order for us to use our own judgment to understand which are more critical or less critical information technology. Because it's different for like the law department versus the police, right? I mean, these are different kinds of technology.
Right. So what you're talking about is IT governance, right? How we make decisions as an organization about how to prioritize, what to prioritize in terms of where we're putting our money. And that governance is actually conducted through our Technology Leadership Council. Okay. And we do have departments. This is related to the Technology Modernization Trust Fund. We have departments every summer put together business cases about what projects they want to do, and talking to us about what it would cost and what it would take to roll these projects out. Those meetings are the place where, as an organization, we look and we say, this is where we want to make sure that we are using the technology that we have. So if someone is proposing a project, and we know we already own technology that can be extended to cover what they're asking for, we make a decision there. That's how we'll cover it instead of new money to purchase a new system. We've avoided duplicating software purchases as a result. And this is where the city, together with city council members who are on the Technology Leadership Council, make decisions about which projects to prioritize. As I said earlier, the only project that is being funded, new project that's being funded through that fund for next year, is the financial enterprise resource system. There were several suggestions. I've heard several project suggestions today sitting at table. And so when I say I need to be Switzerland on this, I don't feel it is right for me to decide whether your project that you want done for accumulating housing data should be prioritized over something else.
I'm going to stop you right there because You know what? I have said, and I will continue to say, and I want to say it here on the record, you can scribble it on a piece of paper on the wall. I do not need a fancy data dashboard for housing.
Right.
So if my vote, don't spend any money on it. But we just need accurate information. And I've literally suggested that to PLI before. When you issue an occupancy permit, you know how many damn units are in that building. Excuse me. Darn units are in that building. Put it on a piece of paper, and that is all we need. We can have an intern type it into Excel, and that would be good enough.
Understood. But that's why I say I don't think I should be in the position of navigating this and deciding which projects are going to get the resources in order to get them done. I am happy to provide insights into what the impacts would be if we decide to defund any particular budget line or any particular positions. I'm happy to talk about that. If I am able to find something in the budget that I would like to recommend, I will certainly do that.
Appreciate it. And I wrote down the name of the committee. I know we talk about it every year, and I know that it's a great thing that exists, but I wrote Technology Committee. That's not the name of it. What's it?
Technology Leadership Council. TLC.
Great. And so we can, for example, ourselves and our staff actually look at those proposals because you said they're pitched every summer.
Yes.
Right. And so if we wanted to do a deeper dive, you've got all the material.
Yes, we do.
Yep. Very good. Appreciate it. And I think I should probably not let this budget hearing end before you speak another minute about the enterprise resource system, because this is basically the new JDE. Am I right? I'll even give the budget director a minute if he wants to chime in.
I mean, I'll just say this is something that I think is incredibly important. JDE was never built for city operations. It was something that I believe the ICA forced us to take on. It was for the
The
county.
county one.
And it's way past its lifespan. And without something like this, we won't be able to just operate on a basic level if we don't have something good in place. So it's long past its time that we should have replaced it. And I'm very excited. So often you guys will ask me for like reports on like what's been spent on this or that. And like I just can't, or it's piecemealed and you only get like fractions of the data because like we don't have like a good way to do it. So this is something that's very exciting for me personally.
And I lost count of the millions that were appropriated to JDE.
Yeah.
So many millions. So hopefully it will be a more, efficient, not necessarily less money, but we'll actually get outcomes for the money that is invested.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. It probably isn't going to be cheaper, but way more efficient.
Right. And so then we can hopefully make better decisions on expenditures and budgeting and forecasting, which is going to be really important as a result. So what is the timeline on the new enterprise resource system?
So this fall, a request for information was released, and the results and returns are back in. Those are being analyzed now, and the result will be an RFP that will be assembled and released probably at the end of the first quarter timeframe, so that responses can be gathered and selection made for the new system, probably by end of second quarter next year. And at that point, we can begin commencing with the phases of implementation.
Thank you. And since we're relying on the kind of technology leadership council that has been structured in the city departments, across city departments, but managed by INP, but we're about to undergo a mayoral transition and we're gonna have different city directors, most probably, we don't know all of them yet. And I have even seen entire departments be, erased and reconstituted as different city departments in my tenure over the last 12 years. I'll say that it feels like from this seat that it was important that we moved away from departments making their own decisions about technology packages. In the early days of my tenure, I would complain because it seemed like every department wanted a different $1 million package, and then they would change their mind because it didn't meet their needs, and they didn't have the in-house skill sets because we didn't resource them to have the in-house skill sets to make their own technology decisions. So this seems to me to be a better working system, right? They describe what their kind of substantive needs are for doing and for acting, and then there's a way for that to be matched to the right technology that they need that will serve them. And then it's also prioritized across city departments in a coherent way. I have appreciated that we feel more confident in the dollars that we're spending, and then it looks like we do get better outcomes for the dollars that we've been spending over the last however many years it's been, 4 or 5 years.
That has been the intent. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll just ask council members who are still here, if you got another round.
I do have one quick question that I forgot to ask. And I don't know how, I assume this would be in collaboration with HR. So I find, and I mean, I'll speak for myself, and I don't know, I can only guess that staff members experience this too, and maybe anyone sort of throughout the city. So if there would be, first of all, I beg all employees to put their cell phone number in, or whatever the easiest, right? Like, because calling the office phone is just incredibly unsatisfying when you are trying to get a hold of somebody and you need an answer now, right? If I can get an answer in a few days, I send an email. If I need an answer now, I pick up the phone. And that 255 number, whenever I see that number, it's just like my heart sinks. I'm like, ugh. I'm never getting a hold of this person.
Boy, are you going to love unified communications.
Well, I hope, right? Because I do, and I know that so that's always the thing when so it's like some people use Teams. I've tried using Teams to kind of grab people, but it doesn't seem like you know what I mean? I don't mean your team uses Teams quite a bit, but not everybody does. So that'll be great if there is like one unified way. But the other thing is, would there be a way, and I don't know if this is like configured in Outlook or, I mean, would be also for, I know that you can click on somebody's name and you can see who their supervisor is and you can see what they do. But it would be nice to have sort of a complete org chart with information about what the people do, so that rather than emailing a director who probably has 10 times more emails than I do, being like, who do I ask about X, right? And that just being able to click on the director and just see the whole thing and the job title. So I'm like, oh, I see, so-and-so. Because you may kind of know I know that I've had that where you're like, oh, I know who, I can see their face and I know that they handle X, but I cannot remember their name. So I can't like look them up, right? But if there was just a way, from the director's ID to just see that, or anybody's ID, right? Just to see the org chart of their department with all the people, I think that would be incredibly helpful, just right there in Outlook. I don't know if that's possible, but
So if you go into Outlook, this isn't for members of the public, this is internal.
no, not for members of
right?
the public. This is
is
just
internal
for internal
only.
communications.
But
yeah.
if you do go into Outlook and, for example, you looked me up as the director, you could see the people that report directly to me. And then if you clicked on, for example, Sylvia, then it would show the people that report to her. Right now, the way Outlook is configured, I don't believe it is really possible, particularly for the very large departments. I mean, my department's relatively small in comparison, but you're never going to get something like 600 people in public works. You're not going to get a full organization chart, right, that way. It sounds more like what you're trying to do is navigate to figure out who you need to talk to on a particular topic.
Yes. I mean, like, so for example, if it's a street light, you know what I mean? Like, I know, I know who does the street lights, but like, if,
Right. And
I'm bad with names. Maybe that's what I'm
right.
I'm very bad with names. And if I could just like look it up and see, this is who I talk to for.
Right. So it's a particular type of search engine, which is actually artificial intelligence that can look up things like, on a very large team, which division, like who does this type of thing, that would be able to do a search and look for, the summaries of different people's jobs, that is actually what that is. That's what you're asking for. You may not realize that that's what you're asking for, but it is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we don't have that today.
We don't have that
We
today.
don't have
okay,
that
well, maybe
today.
I can just try, but if I did, so you're saying if I dig in Outlook, if I start with the director,
It'll
then
basically give you names and titles, but it won't tell you what they do, what
I
their
see, right.
responsibilities are.
Right.
It's just a basic org chart.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is more substantive, that involves a search function. I'm getting.
I mean,
the,
if your
I'm getting the
I know,
hairy
but
eyeball
if
from
your title is,
Chris.
but some folks do have like if your title is, playground project manager or something like that, right? Then I'm like, oh, that sounds like the person I'm looking for, or.
There's also kind of a weedsy answer to this, and that's like making sure that HR data and the data that goes into Outlook are talking to each other. And Sylvia's leading a project on that right now that's going to help strengthen that foundation, rather than have it go, say, from HR through my team in the cloud over to that. It's an effort to help make sure that it's more directly integrated. And that's like, you lay those foundations, and then you can do the more
Higher order.
higher order, more, there's a more meaningful thing to do with the data.
Okay. And I mean, I don't know if that's a need for other, but certainly because we're being asked about so many things that, asking for me to ask the director is just not a good way to kind of get to the information that you're looking for, right?
Yes, by the time we read the email, you've probably already found the answer.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, that's all. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you. I don't know if there are any members left online. Do we have? Councilman Mosley, if you are with us, do you have any second round questions?
No second round questions for me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I think that will do it today. I think all I need is a motion to recess. Can a council member give me a motion to recess?
Oh, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We are recessed.